Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case, as well as the external news going on in recent time. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere. I appreciate it. Shout out to Alan Berg and also I think Wanda recently for their super chats. Very good of them. And also shout out to Missing Remote, although it was an unsuccessful super chat because it was accidentally deleted. It was still good of them to originally put it in the first place, okay? So today we're going to be continuing on with the Dylan Rounds discussion, still focusing on that. We'll be locking more onto the term desecration as well as an item of interest I've noticed with time. I pointed it out in the past, but with time it kind of faded away and no one else has talked about it since, whether it be the item used due to desecration or an example of the sort of item that could be used in general, okay? Make more sense of that later on in this video. Make sure to stick around. Also going to be covering the recent news about Pancakes' second channel, how that's ended up being removed as well, and his response to it. It could get to a very messy head, okay, in which maybe some people have more to lose than others. The odd few may have nothing to lose and they can be more dangerous. It just depends how things play out on YouTube, I guess, externally speaking, outside of the Dylan Rounds case. Some of you might wonder, does it really need to be covered? Just a brief observation, that is all, and it might help you as well. Because if you just so happen to be watching these channels or you come from these channels, it's good to know where you stand and what to expect for the future so you yourself don't get harmed or caught up in it all, which is going on, okay? And I'll try and repeat that message later on in this video when we do get more into it. Also, what I want to do is check in on the comments of the last video, see if there's any key questions, any key bits of information, talking points. I think the Shack Lady has returned as well with an odd comment also, so we can read what that's all about. Hopefully it's not like the paragraph of a book, but I guess we'll see. Anything else to highlight? Just that we'll do those comments first of all to allow people to join on into this chat. And as said, as we do go along throughout this entire video, make sure to share your thoughts, opinions, reactions, and anything else in between. If you want to check out my previous video about the Dylan Rounds case, as well as the origins of Pancakes' channel being removed and reasons to why, make sure to check my video out. I'll provide a link down below in the pinned comment section, as well as some other links if you wish to go elsewhere, okay? So I think with that all out the way, we're probably gonna transition from one to another in that order. Let's first check the comments out of the last video and start from there. Here we are. We'll just arrange it to the newest comments. Start from the bottom. Looks like we've got a couple to get through, but it probably won't take too long. There's Sunny Productions. We've got Linda Cushing, very interesting. This is going to be interesting info. That was a comment before the live premiere. Linda saying, now lots of rats and mice will appear. Oh my. So I don't know what Linda's blood pressure reading was like at the time of that video. Hopefully it didn't spike too high. I heard some news in the past, some rumours that the last time Linda went full-on gushing mode was when someone tried stealing bottles from the cellar. But it's never happened since. I'm not surprised. What were the responses then? Linda literally repeating the comment twice. Wow, it must have been serious. Joseph, I agree with you there, Linda. They're going to be looking for anything to hold on to. Wheedleby, I've been on a mission travelling the country trying to find rat traps. Okay, interesting. Have they worked? I guess not, but you know, that's why the whip is there, the badge one. Anyway, we've got Badger. I'll stay quiet again today. That's what Badger said initially, but didn't quite work out, did it? Indiana, that must have been your clone then I saw tonight. Badger, I guess I need rehab. Oh God, Badger, don't get rehab, man. It's all fine. What's this, Indiana? Either that or some duct tape. Whoa, I think Indiana is going down a different pathway. He's trying to collaborate with Linda Gushing Matrix. Okay, with that black tape. What are you turning into? Indie Matrix. Wow. So many things branching off all of a sudden. Donnie Does Dishes saying, why was Salty's channel cancelled? Mini-me. We've not seen Mini-me for a while on here. Saying, guess, the jealous troublemakers, but he is still on YouTube. He is not out. We are strong and not going anywhere. Well, Salty's second channel got took down the day after. So, and just to answer Donnie's original question, due to, what's it called? Severe conspiracies, talking along the lines of that. I mean, whether it be an actual person you know who reported you or just randomly, right? YouTube can be a bit tight and strict on certain guidelines, right? If it's politically incorrect, if it's not do-gooder, it's the opposite, maybe something to do with history. Yeah, YouTube doesn't always like that when you start covering that sort of things. Kind of unrelated, well, no, probably not unrelated. When it came to the Kenny Veach case, there was an established channel called Sean Horlacher. He went out there searching for Kenny Veach and the M Cave in Nevada, the Mojave Desert. Had about 10 to 15,000 subscribers, you know, doing all of that. Selling merch as well, t-shirts, and having membership too. So kind of like Salty Pancakes. But throughout, Sean Horlacher was doing half spiritual stuff and then mystery stuff and then more so politics and all about that, and QAnon as well, etc., etc. And these Telegram text and messages reappearing, and JFK or JFK's son reappearing from the dead or something, and it's whatever. But obviously, with the conspiracies in between, he ended up getting supposedly shadow banned. His channel wasn't performing the same, people getting unnotified, not receiving the same amount of views, losing subscribers in an unnatural way. It was like a slow process like that. Now with Pancakes, it's almost instantaneous, right? Just instant like that, everything taken away. And to be honest, it must be on a serious level, or the way people reported him on a serious level, because it's normally a 3-strike system. I guess whether it be for copyright or other reasons, privacy or harassment or whatever, you may receive a strike and then you can't really do anything for about a week. So no thanks supposedly went through that. Pancakes went through that, then returned back. And then normally when you receive a second strike, you end up not being able to do anything at all for a couple more weeks longer. And then if you get the third strike, instant termination of account. Yet in Pancake's situation, it seemed to go from receiving one strike to then suddenly being terminated. I've never really seen it happen like that before, if I'll be honest. Okay. So just let me know your thoughts down below, the process of that. How did it suddenly skip from one to the other? Unless it was just instant strikes one after another. That's all I could think of. Anyway, Clee, thank you, Warlight Raf. Can't believe you. I think Clee ended up getting a little bit frustrated yesterday. I I don't know if it's because it's the video or something else, but she didn't seem too pleased. We got Wanda. Shout out to Wanda in Uganda. Louise, Jim Terry did that. There's been talks here and there. Some people are saying Jim Terry did it, but then other people are saying it was someone else known as Miss T or something. Glenn, Iceberg. Shout out to Iceberg. What's this one? Iceberg. I don't mean to be quiet, Raf. I've been super busy and I'm tired of the fake accounts. So anyone in chat right now, have you seen any fake impersonation accounts of Ellen Berg? Yes or no? In the past, I think I came across one on my channel back then, but not since. So unless it's been happening on other channels, I assume, from the looks of it. Norma, so you're being harassed by these losers. Sending kisses. Love, long-time friend. I don't know who Norma is. She's just showed up with a dog profile pic. Okay, so it looks like we might be redistributing the types of animals. Okay, we had the kitty cats and now some of the dogs. Dog profile pictures are appearing. Interesting. Joseph saying, hey Raf, hey kids. Awesome topic, as always. For your information, it was Quinton Lewis, I think. I could go back and look in the chat, previous video, but I didn't. Yeah, Lewis did come to my mind, but I just didn't actually externally, verbally say it. Yeah, so Quintessential Organics is Quinton Lewis, the one that originally appeared on the channel. Now, at first, when I saw Quintessential Organics, whether it be the username or maybe the profile picture, it just reminded me of some other individual in the past that ended up showing up with ideas about Dylan going off elsewhere. I don't know why, it's just the first thing that came to mind. Joseph, Indiana, love those Lance comments. And Wes, you don't love finding the mushrooms, you love eating them. Okay. Clee, guilty as charged. Miss Kitty has been missing in action too long, so a check-in was necessary. By the way, I don't think I sent da froggies. Or maybe I did. Okay, so Cleo must be rearranging her potion cabinet. Just Jen, dang it. I came in late, missed most of this live, Raf. Tut, Jen. Okay. Any more late appointments? Whip emoji might be coming out. But then again, saying it, I'm sure Indiana or Maria is already using it right now. Oh well. I would have liked to comment to the topics you were on. Then there was the fact you made about tools. To my comment, I changed my mind. I'm not 100% on that anymore. It's not just that. There would be blood evidence, sprinkles all over. And he would do that much work? Question mark. But the chainsaw is a logical tool. He definitely could have used it. He also puked in there. I think the holes were blood evidence both too. Okay, so talking about that. Don't know if we actually really zoomed in on it previous, but we can definitely do it today. Briefly talked about it last video, I believe, but didn't actually zoom in on the spot visually, the actual image of it. So we can definitely get into that as well. It's not just that one item, it's like the other items as well, like the shovel in the corner, as well as the back carrot itself. Just re-talk about that, start those discussions again so they don't fade away. And anything else in between which could have aided in the desecration of Dylan rounds, right? Anyway, we'll be, from what I've heard regarding Molly Golly, who's Molly Golly? Golly Jolly Molly, losing her channel yesterday. It sounds like he will lose all the monetization for the current time period. Right, I don't know who Molly is. Molly, I don't know. It's just Robbie. Oh my God. It's just Robbie in the house. Okay, there we go. What does he say? Great video. Salty's new channel just got banned on YouTube. Oh, and we found out his logo is stolen too. The artist who made it is mad. Right. Okay, whatever that is. The logo. So that's the yellow one, right, with the salt sprinkler thing. Okay. What's the additional responses? Joe Senat. New person to the channel popping up. Please unblock me. Thanks a lot. Robbie? Now, this is the thing. I guess this is somewhat helpful towards Joe, possibly. If Robbie has supposedly blocked Joe, then Joe's comment to Robbie's not going to see or read it because it won't show up. Though here, you can see all the comments. So if people need to unblock one another, or if people do need to block someone, then it can all be shown here, public, in view, and it can be all under control at the same time, okay? So Joe is blocked by Robbie. Joe wants to be unblocked. Don't even know who Joe is. Joe who? Joe, you could, I don't know. Let's just move on. Shack Lady popping on in. What if he had a receipt for purchase of work and design? Just a thought. Robbie says, I would say the original artwork owner will be filing grievances because that's what they told us they were going to do. Fiverr isn't the greatest place to buy stuff. Not going to lie. Yeah, Fiverr. To be honest, Robbie, I have seen videos in the past, completely unrelated, where YouTubers have bought items, bits and bobs, miscellaneous items, drink holders, cups, party games, collectibles, bracelets, whatever it may be. Some have turned out okay, others have turned out to be a complete disaster. And the same with on Fiverr when people have wanted animations to be made or music videos. I think it was the channel Cold Ones when they paid people to create some kind of media for them. Some were like $30 to $40 and were very, very good. Others were about $5,000 and were a complete rip-off and scam. So very unstable, uneven, you don't want to be, on there too often. But to be honest, other places maybe Etsy could be a bit dodgy at times, a bit wonky. Alibaba, is it Alibaba? Oh, no, it's, what's it called? AliExpress. I got that completely mixed up. AliExpress, that's another dodgy place. Wish.com. Wish.com, that's where the some of my impressions have come from. The knockoff versions of Gorilla Jack or the knockoff of Mr. X in a harmless way. Okay, no issues there. Let's move on. Norma, get him, Robbie. You're a good friend. Norma Schkock. Interesting last name. I'll see what I can do. Best way to get unblocked is to call in. And Joe, maybe Joe was unblocked in the end. Yeah, he was. And Joe is calling Robbie handsome. Okay, so some interesting movement going on. Developments too. Weezer, here we go. Saying, I was going to ask this in chat yesterday, but there were too many crazies in there. I am curious of where everyone would search if they had the chance. Raf has mapped a lot of areas, and I was just wondering if any specific areas stood out to anyone. So that's a key question by Weezer. Everyone in chat right now, if you was just suddenly plonked in Lucin, dropped in there, where would you go? What would you search first? We could do a poll as well, like a vague one. I guess set the poll as, if you went there yourself, where would you go first? Grain shed, Dylan's farm, a wash. Try and look for Don's trailer. Final option can be other and list down below where else you would search. Okay. So yeah, key questions. Linda saying Brenner's property all over. He knew every square inch of that property, just my opinion. Brenner's property. So, Linda, you're talking about Brenner's trailer near the grain shed, right? That parcel of land. If he knew every square inch of that property, to an extent would make sense. You know, that's where he lives. He walks about. He's literally there all the time, right? Unlike Dylan, who comes and goes. So, yeah. But there's a lot of room, right? There's a lot of space, very vast and open. Might not be so much having all the knowledge on every cave, every mine shaft and mine, just more so the ground. Where's the best area? What ground may be unstable? Where's the best quality of it? And washes as well nearby. Yeah, and I understand. Weezer, thank you. With all the special equipment that has been used, it's hard to believe they haven't found Dylan. Yeah, I mean, could you say to an extent that they were limited to certain equipment at the beginning, like with the drones? Drones were present, but the LE forgot to bring the pilots along with them who could operate them. So with no pilots, they couldn't use the drones. The cadaver dogs, K9 units, like how that's been worded by Candice Cooley, weren't fully utilised at the beginning because the LE delayed them due to the boot situation, and that was delayed as well with the labs. Equisearch, Texas Equisearch, I think it was, weren't used at the beginning because they weren't given the green light by the LE, but fast forward to near winter time, just before that, then they could start going out and helping and assisting, which is a bit too late, right? So certain resources and bits of equipment have been delayed, so they couldn't be as successful in the early days. Though, regardless, whether it be back then, recent time, or literally right now, yes, they've not found Dylan at this point. So maybe the delay doesn't really matter. The only point I would put forwards is with the delaying and usage of equipment, any reason why that'd be negative in terms of the success rate in searching for Dylan, if Dylan was buried in a shallow grave or in an area which was accessible to animals which could claw away at it, dig it back up, and then start scattering Dylan's bones elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? That's the only issue when it comes to dragging the case out. If Dylan was just buried, like let's just say in a casket deep in the ground, no animals could get to it, then obviously the pain, the sadness prolonged because they've not found him, but at least you've got a bit more confidence that when you do find him, he will be in one piece and not spread about. What I do want to say as a brief question right now is, if Dylan, or if a part of Dylan was found, the leg bone, an arm bone, even just the skull, without all of his remains, but just a small portion of it, would that be enough for the conviction? Would it? And what I do want to say is, if it was, and then almost like the case was closed, Brenner already been charged, Brenner maybe sentenced to death or not, going down, being convicted, you think that's over, right? But if the rest of Dylan's remains are out there, but just very spread out across distance, what happens then? Because technically, you've got justice for Dylan, right? Because Brenner's been charged and convicted, if we're basing it off that scenario. But Dylan hasn't really been brought home. A part of him has, but the rest remains out there, all the other bones. So what happens in a situation like that? Do you just spend months upon years after that searching for every bone fragment of Dylan Rounds so you can get all of his remains together as a whole and then do whatever? Or do you not bother? It's a bit of a weird situation, that, right? But it could happen. That could be the case. Just let me know your thoughts in the chat, because I think that's quite an important question. And I'll just reiterate the question and shorten it down. That if the family search teams recovered a small portion of Dylan Round's remains, the odd bone or two, would that be more than enough to get a conviction for Brenner to be sent down? And if that was the case, what happens after that? Because Dylan has not really been brought home, only the odd bone has. So does the family continue searching for the rest of his remains or not? Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. Linda, Warlike Wrath, I'm sorry about my foul mouth yesterday. The Matrix came out. See, this is what I mean. These are the type of patterns we're probably going to be seeing with time. All these matrix complexes, these deep internal things appearing out of nowhere, right? How do you tame the gushing? How do you tame the Linda Matrix? I don't know. Kind of uncharted territory, but maybe with time someone will get an understanding of it, right? Anyway, let's move on. Shack Lady, here we go. Okay, short comments. So this is kind of unusual for the Shack Ladies. Normally it's novels and paragraphs long, but we'll read it anyway. Saying, I honestly think it would be so nice if other people could move on with their ventures on YouTube and just avoid people they don't like. It's so easy to not participate in the drama by eliminating the problem. There's a world large enough to talk about so many different things besides spreading such hate to others. Now, the reason why that doesn't happen is just in general, and this can apply anywhere with any other channel, past, present, future, okay? Some channels rely on drama for them to survive, to get views. Some channels rely on a specific individual with specific reactions. If there's no reaction, they themselves are kind of cut off. So then they try and maybe act a bit more desperate or do more things to then get a reaction back. So then they can keep that almost like sparring back and forth. There'll be some times though where channels, different ones, may agree with one another to create fake drama so they both benefit. That can happen too. So, it's kind of mixed. There seems to be maybe varying levels of drama just when it simply comes to true crime communities, true crime discussions. But if you think about it, you're covering cases which are to do with crime, and at times maybe the crimes attract criminals or ex-criminals into a case, right? To an extent, maybe that's happened within the Dylan Rounds case. So if you already have people that have done questionable things in the past and they're present here in a community, then they could re-offend, do similar stuff. For them to be committing crimes in the past could display a certain personality behaviour around them. Could be like troublemakers, and maybe more serious things as well in between. So when you got a collection of them, maybe there is tension, maybe there's like trigger points. But this is the thing. What I'd say first of all, just to acknowledge, when it comes to the Dylan Rounds case, through some misunderstandings, through competitiveness, evolutionary competitiveness, as well as believing others aren't doing a good enough job or doing it for the right reasons, that's where the tension conflict is. But once you get past that, I think there's a deeper internal reason behind it all. Maybe it's understandable to some, for others it's not. For me, I've not really thought too much about it. What I have understood from the beginning was it begun in the Dylan Rounds community, internally, and then started to grow out externally and separate, part ways, which is a positive in a way, because it allows people to focus, the ones who want to solve the case or just simply understand it without all the background noise, right? So there's that. Another thing just to point out, if you think about it, within the Dylan Rounds case, you've got certain suspects, points at time in the past. People are still suspicious of some till this day. And obviously the main guy, Brenner, they've all got a criminal past. They all have reoffended with time and even recently. So is that similar to maybe within the community of possible ex-criminals that have reoffended recently? I'm not quite sure, but you never know. You could be on the verge of witnessing people reoffending due to this drama, right? Because what's the best way of wording it? In other cases, you might just get drama between two general public people. It could be petty. It could be drawn out, back, forth, and then eventually it disperses. But if you've got a couple of people who are a bit more hardened or have done things in the past, have got certain behaviour, certain patterns, not always for the best reasons, and you put them all in a room, not literally, and there's drama, then it could be more intensified, could be a bit more damaging, could be a little bit more dangerous, right? There's that you got to take in mind. So whilst you do get drama all over the place, it's with different combinations of people, and arguably within the Dylan Rounds case, the combinations of people throughout time has been a little bit more friction than in other places, okay? The bit about would be nice if other people could move on. I mean, just to make it as an observation, okay? Jim Terry and Mr. X, whilst covering the Dylan Rounds case here and there, months ago they did move on in terms of talking about other stuff and obviously the indoor arena football. So they did move away from the Dylan Rounds case because they had other things to be doing, covering and talking about. Sure, there might have been reference points to people back then. You could put that argument across, but they did move on. As for Pancakes continued with the Dylan Rounds case coverage and talking points, and then maybe in more recent time transitioned more onto Aidan Clune, right? With me, I've just been doing the Dylan Rounds coverage almost every single day for over 8 months, probably, right now. So there's that. So, and then you look at other channels like No Thanks, who's been doing a range of other cases, which I guess has always been that way. Tyler Feller, Zav Girl, for a period, they obviously were covering Dylan Rounds, but then they moved on quicker than others and started doing other stuff, right? So all in all, as a whole, people have moved on to other, if you call it ventures, moved on to other cases. But with those odd reference points to previous people, that's what's kind of fueled and kept certain long-standing grievances and grudges in place, right? That's the only issue. But, sometimes you might do reference points to an event or someone, and although it could be seen as relighting the fire, you might just be making a valid point, a historical argument, an event that took place back then, just like how I always do with the Kenny Veach case, always making comparisons, always referring back to it or a person within the case at the time, right? Because if you do make reference points, then it provides a better understanding. Was there anything else here to say? It's so easy to not participate in the drama by eliminating the problem. Now, when you say that, Shack Lady, by eliminating the problem, if someone like Jim Terry or someone else out there that got Pancakes channel shut down, in the mindset of them, wouldn't they feel like they're eliminating the problem by literally shutting someone down? So I mean, it becomes a little bit complex, doesn't it? You start thinking of these different possibilities and angles and takes on stuff. A bit about many different things besides spreading so much hate. Now, obviously, the only other observation just to point out is that whilst all this trouble has gone on throughout time, it's all by fully grown adults of maybe around a certain age profile. Differing applies to both genders, not just one side. So there's that to take in mind. Anyway, let's move on. Norma, excellent video. I know he had unnecessary hatred for you. Shout out to Norma for appearing on this channel. She's got a dog profile picture. Is that a Labrador? A black Labrador? It could be. It's got its tongue stuck out. Kitty cats, better hide. You don't want the dog nibbling the kitties. Anyway, the bit where it says, I know he had unnecessary hatred for you. Me personally, I didn't feel that Pancakes had hatred towards me, because here and now, to an extent, he did give the odd super chat, which, just as an observation, was good of him at the time. There was moments though where he had a bit of a mini meltdown and took things out of context or didn't quite understand a situation or certain wording, language. But, you know, it was only mini meltdowns on my channel or in my chat, right? That's what's happened. But the only time when he got a little bit fixated was when it came to my hair. Pancakes thought I was wearing a wig. Pancakes wanted me to take my hair off, which would have been a bit difficult since it's attached to my scalp, my head. But he seemed to be a bit fixed on that, so that was kind of interesting. But that aside, I didn't think Pancakes had a big grudge with me, unless I was completely unaware of it. But yeah, I just really stay away from it. Is that it for the comments? Wow. Okay. There we go. Done. So we just had a little talking point there around, you know, the tension and stuff going on. We will continue those discussions later on with the latest news and the latest responses by Pancakes, highlighting possible danger or, you know, more messy tension down the line. Make sure to stick around for that. But I think it's now time we steer back into the Dylan Rounds case and coverage. Welcome if you have just joined. If you want to rewind back to the beginning of this video to catch up, feel free to do so. Or if you want to do it later and just watch live for now, that's fine as well. We're going to be talking about Dylan Rounds and desecration of his remains today and possible items of interest within the area that could have been used, or at least something similar which was used, right? And we can also talk about the meaning behind desecration too, because it is an umbrella term if you weren't aware. Also, before we continue, just to highlight, Jump for Joy Perry. Yep, Jump for Joy Perry. Yeah, Joy, come on, Joy! So basically, Joy did appear on Jim Terry's channel, I believe yesterday or the day before, right? In an actual live panel interview. If you want to check it out, feel free to watch Jim Terry's video. If I can find a link to it, I'll provide it down below if you want to see what Joy Perry sounds like and looks like, if you want to get an idea. Someone like Wes Stump will probably be hiding behind the chair if the video is played, understandable. As for the audio, or at least the quality of it, with it cutting out, probably due to dodgy Joy Perry internet connection and stuff, it was quite original and fitting for her. But, you know, it's just giving her side of the story and what she knows, right? I don't know if she provided any emails or any screenshots, because I do know in the past when it came to Jim Terry, he was doing a live stream, interview, video, whatever you want to call it, show. And someone left a comment in the chat saying, oh, I've got some audio recording in the past of Kurt Wadsworth admitting to this or admitting to that. And Jim Terry was like, well, prove it. Where is it? And this person was saying, oh, I handed it into the police, but I don't have a copy of it right now to share with you. So obviously it was perceived as a load of bullshit, BS, time wastage, right? That's what Jim Terry was kind of thinking, which I do understand, right? In recent time, that was the similar situation with Joy Perry, at least on my channel, where she was saying she knows this, she knows that, she's passed it on to someone such as No Thanks Doug, but she deleted it herself, so she no longer has a copy. So you just got to take her word. Is that more than enough? Is that practical? Let me know your thoughts down below. Just wanted to acknowledge that as a heads up if you wanted to see that interview though with Joy Perry, right? So that aside, desecration of Dylan Rounds. Desecration can apply to, I guess, a human body. It can also apply to a sacred place, some kind of burial, right? Could be seen as disrespecting the location by disturbing it, destroying it, unearthing, digging it up, the person. That's how it can be portrayed there. Desecration of a body of a human before it's even gone into the ground. That's where the umbrella term really does kick in. And if you search it yourself, it will come up with different possibilities and explanations, as similar to the court documents, the official ones, where it was just basically saying desecration can apply to simply moving a person out of plain sight and then burying them, hiding the body. That can apply as desecration, okay? Though desecration can also apply as you bury a person and then later dig them back up and then rebury them elsewhere. That's also desecration. And then the other option with desecration is you got a person, you either burn them to the ground or you cut them up or crush them, whatever forms or methods you have, and then scatter or bury. Do you see the different possibilities? Now, could you combine them all together? You got desecration of a body and you got different methods which fall under that term. A person could take someone out and then with that someone chop them up or burn them and then bury them, then at a later point dig them back up and then scatter them elsewhere and then bury them. Or you could take someone out, get hold of the person who's no longer alive, bury them, and then dig them back up, and then desecrate, chop them up, and then bury them, and then even uncover them, and then rebury them again. And then that's still classified as desecration, right? So, should we do a poll right now? I don't know. It's a bit of an awkward poll to do, to be honest, as for options. It's probably easier for people to give their thoughts down below in the chat. So, as for desecration of Dylan Rounds, do you think he was just simply buried once? Or do you think he was buried and then removed again and placed elsewhere? Or do you think Dylan was chopped up, then buried? Or do you think Dylan was chopped up or burnt, buried, then dug back up and then reburied again? There's a lot of options there, but just let me know your thoughts down below, because this is what I mean. There is a split when it comes to the desecration part of Dylan. Some people believe this, other people disagree and think something else. It's understandable because the definition is very open to interpretation. And as for Dylan Rounds himself, because they have not been able to locate and successfully recover Dylan's remains, that desecration part is open to interpretation still. And with that in mind, what we are going to do is take a look at the Grainshed property, obviously where Brenner was present and where Dylan was present during that final showdown or ambush, whichever one you want to call it. We're just going to take a look at the items and objects and equipment that's present which could have been used as a form of desecration or somewhat involved in the process of desecration, okay? We're not talking about the gun or the key fob, right? I know the truck can take place but we can just briefly talk about that one aside from the photo of the truck because we know what it looks like. Okay, it'll make more sense in a second, and we'll do it from photo to photo like a slide. Just present the odd photo, analyze it, see what shows up. If there's anything truly of interest, and move on to the next one. I might not have all the photos from previous videos I've done, but you can always look back at those previous videos. As for the little shed of Brenner's where the horse items and material was within, I did cover that in a previous video as well, so you can check it out if you want to know what's within it, right? Let's head on over now and begin this focus and this discussion of Dylan's Desecration. So here's the first image, the aerial view by Heavy D when they did the flyby over at the very beginning, the grain shed property, right? Got a few little markers here and there, but the main focus is just visually looking what's on screen, right? And mainly it's just vehicles, okay? Possibilities of certain vehicles being used as a means of desecration are valid, right? You think about it. If desecration involves either just simply getting a hold of the remains of someone, moving them to bury in the ground and using a truck as a form of transportation to get from point A to point B, can apply, right? So that's what I mean. Tools, equipment used as a form of desecration, whether it be to help transport the process or break the remains down, right? So I'll just give you my thoughts, my ideas of what I see in front of me and how they could have been used, okay? So, is there anything that truly stands out to me? I mean, first thing to acknowledge, the backhoe is not present in this photo because this was right back at the start, post Dylan's disappearance, right? So just take that in mind. If you want to know why Dylan's grain truck is left like that, because this footage is after June the 2nd. This is post-spring cleaning by Brenner. When Brenner went into the grain shed, 2nd of June, to bag stuff up, whatever that may have been, such as evidence. But in order to reach that stuff, he had to move Dylan's grain truck and drove it out, but he did not park it back inside, okay? And the police were present there as well as the sheriff, and they didn't show any resistance. They allowed him to do what he was doing, okay? Just a little backstory there. Got some tractors, standard vehicles, that truck there, which is still in place to this day, or roughly speaking on the maps. More tractors there. I mean, I will acknowledge the backhoe as a potential means of the process of desecration, though we do have a dedicated photo to that, which we'll refer back to. But at least on this screenshot, the only thing that stands out to me would be this down here. And I don't know the exact correct wording for it, like a roller, where, is it John Deere? Not quite sure. But it's used to flatten the ground. Maybe there's certain attachments that can be used for flattening down tarmac in this situation, flattening down dirt, making it more compact. So it prevents vehicles from getting stuck in the ground. I guess there was work done in the area. That's why you can see the pathways and why it seems a bit flatter in some areas and lumpy in other areas. So how could an item like this be used? Am I saying it was 100% used? No, but something similar could have been, right? And just explaining how it could have been used is worthwhile, right? So if you think you've may have manually done it yourself, or someone like Brenner may have used or had help with the use of a backhoe to be able to dig up dirt, dig a hole big enough for a burial to put Dylan in, then filling it back up, right? Covering it so Dylan's not visible, and then maybe using this roller to flatten the ground down, make it a bit more compact so it doesn't seem as if it's been as disturbed in comparison to if you just didn't use it at all, right? By flattening it down, kind of seals it, possibly. Does anyone agree? Something like that could have been used in the Dylan Rounds case. Just give your own thoughts and ideas down below. I think what you've got to acknowledge is if certain items were truly used, then why would they still be present to this day? Surely they would have been taken away. As said, if there are other objects, pieces of equipment which are kind of similar, which have been taken away, then maybe it was more likely them. But this is just to generate ideas, talking points, and, there's always that small possibility that the odd item may have been looked over, forgotten about, or just completely missed as a whole, right? So if we can shine light on an area, a dark patch, which has not been touched upon, then it might help in some way, okay? So that's really the only thing that springs out to me from this photo. Let me know in the chat or the comment section if there's any items of interest on screen which could have been used in the process of desecration, right? Anything else down here? Not from the looks of it. Doesn't quite show. It doesn't really quite show that dirt mound down there. Not as clear, but then again, maybe on ground level it's a little bit better. Yeah, I think we'll move on next to this one. This is Kurt Wadsworth's backhoe. And obviously there has been talk about blood found on the bucket area. What? Blood found on this one? No. Supposedly blood found on another backhoe, which could be similar in appearance to the one what we see on screen. So we're just using this as an example for the talking point, okay? A backhoe is quite useful, and one such like this has been used within trying to find Dylan, supposedly, such as draining the pond at Dylan's farm, as well as, I guess, draining the pond at Lucin Pond and digging bits up, right? As well as doing other unrelated work regarding the grain shed property. I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to machinery like this, but you got like the digger or the scoop part at the front, the bucket, if you call it that, the bigger bucket. I guess it can be used to shovel stuff across and maybe dig to an extent, right? There appears to be some rubbish and trash within it. Don't know what that is. It is covered in dirt, mud, which has hardened with time and dried out. So it has been used a fair bit. More so, the important talking point would be this bucket at the back, which is definitely used for digging holes and scooping up dirt, right? And the way it moves as well, how it can be flexible in a sense. So this bucket area supposedly of another backhoe which blood was found upon, but Lance Kelly can't reveal the owner of that backhoe. Is there anyone in chat right now who knows about the blood found on the bucket of a backhoe? And who does it belong to, if you're able to reveal it? Okay? Or is that story a load of BS? Some people have said this talking discussion originated from Candice Howard. Candice Howard being like general public individual who supposedly in contact with Candice Cooley. Candice Howard, an individual Jim Terry doesn't like, if I'm correct in saying. You see all these different like links throughout time. But the way the information is distributed is very, very fragmented. Whilst it's probably true to say to an extent that someone like Candice Cooley has made mistakes with information or gave rough, inaccurate, like, what do you call it, generalizations, observations, pointing things out which turn out to be completely incorrect. it was all out there, right? And it wasn't really deleted or taken away. It was in place. It was easy to find. It was all in public eye, so everyone could hear about it, talk about it. Whereas with the people who aren't directly on the inside of the case or impacted by it, but seem to hold quite a bit of information, some of it's drip fed, some of it is only released to some people who will then drip feed it. Not the whole public know of it, right? And it's just very slow paced, hard to understand, hard to follow, hard to trust, right? If it was like all out there in public sight, it'd be a lot easier, but I guess to an extent as well, it could negatively impact the case as well. But yeah, as we're referring back to the desecration theme, the backhoe or a backhoe in general could definitely have been used in different ways, right? A backhoe could have been used to simply dig a hole in the ground or maybe the wall of a wash, possibly. So then they could put Dylan within it. As well, could have been also used if you were digging Dylan rounds back up to bury him elsewhere. That's another form of desecration. And it's maybe not as likely with the blood being found on the bucket area because of the weight and the force of the backhoe and the bucket. Could that have been used to try and cut down Dylan's limbs, Dylan Round's body, try and cutting it up? You can't quite see it on here, but it's kind of like sharp, long prongs or fingernails on the end of that bucket. So that's what enables it and helps it to be able to dig into the ground, get in deep, and then unearth it, scoop it up, right? But could those prongs have been used to like dig into Dylan's body to try and chop it up if they didn't have any other tools with them at the time? Do you think that's a possibility or not? Because if it turns out to be true that a backhoe had blood on the bucket, then the bucket area must have been in close contact with Dylan's body. But how exactly? How did the bucket head supposedly make contact with Dylan's body? Well, I can't imagine the bucket scooping Dylan's body up because it's not that big, the head of it. Though if we were talking about the front part of it, that's probably big enough, the surface area, to scoop Dylan up and roll him into a hole or push him into something, right? That's one way of looking at it, but supposedly no blood was found in this area, so that rules that out. Focusing back on the head, the only two ways I could think of it is if Dylan, you make the hole with the backhoe and then you roll Dylan into that hole, and then as the backhoe was filling the hole back in, it might have scraped against Dylan's body, which caught a bit of the blood upon it when it was dragging the dirt, the soil into that hole. That's one way. That'd be desecration. Though, if it's not that, the only other possible method that would explain blood on the bucket head would be if you were unearthing, digging back up the burial. The reason why I say that is you get the backhoe, you start clawing away, digging the ground up, and then, as you're scraping that dirt away with the bucket, it's probably going to catch on the body as well as you're brushing the dirt aside. Does it cause damage? I don't know, but it might penetrate into the body, or it might just kind of skim past the blood and it spreads upon the bucket area. And then that could support the idea that desecration took place, but in the form of burying and then reburying elsewhere afterwards. So let me know your thoughts around the backhoe with possible blood found on the bucket area. How do you think blood got there to begin with? Do any of my suggestions align with your thoughts? Let me know down below, okay? So this is a form of equipment. that played a role in the desecration. A possibility, okay? Let's move on to the next image. So now we're looking within the grain shed, inside. And we have two different photos of it inside. One on the left, Justin Rounds taking it. One on the right by Salty3Pancak3s, in which that footage no longer exists, supposedly, because Salty3Pancak3s channel has been taken down, his main one, in recent time. And as I said, we'll be talking more about that later on in this video, go a bit deeper there, provide the latest responses by Pancakes himself. If you're interested in that, make sure to stick about. But as we're focused on this point for now, this area regarding Dylan Rounds, it's looking inside. Is there any items or tools that could have been used to help with the desecration, whether it be the burying of Dylan and covering up, concealing, or the means of chopping Dylan up, let's say? One thing I just want to highlight and acknowledge, which I didn't do so beforehand, apologies. Regarding down here, that box, what you see there, is a small shed, supposedly Brenner's shed, which held horse items, maybe horse feed, bits and bobs like that. Now, my time looking inside of it, credit to Gloria Dellen's footage when she went out there, there wasn't really any items of interest that could have been used to dispose of Dylan in that way or break him up in a form of desecration, right? Any other thing of interest, that barrel you see down there near that white car, when analysing that as well and the contents that were scooped out of it or dumped out of it, it didn't really reveal that much there either, and it was supposedly searched through anyway by the police, okay? And also, the idea of desecration, of breaking up Dylan's body, most likely would have been with the use of tools like a blade or some kind of blunt instrument rather than the use of fire and burning. The reason why I say that is because when it comes to burning a body, it takes a great amount of heat, right? You think of those ovens in the past, that would be enough to do the job and get rid of the bone as well, turn it to ash. Are you going to have that opportunity within Lucin, Utah? Absolutely not. You could try and burn it, but it probably just wouldn't be that practical, and it'd still obviously be remains, right? So it'd still be obvious. So the usage of cutting down, breaking it up, dispersing it, that probably would be the main way. But one thing I just want to highlight, in a sense, these methods, right, just refer back to Brenner's own clothing, right? The video recording, 27 seconds long, on the day 28th of May at 7:27 a.m, which depicted Brenner from Dylan Rounds' phone somehow, recording Brenner cleaning a gun with blood on his sleeves and shirt. That shirt was identified as Dylan's blood down the line and retrieved by the police. Now, the reason why I brought that point up is, why did Brenner just leave it in the trailer? Isn't that really silly? It would have made a lot of sense if Brenner tried burning the top at least, the one he wore, the one which literally had blood all over it, right? Why keep it in your trailer, a bloodied shirt? Why not bury it or burn it? And yet he didn't. So what I'm getting at is, if desecration as a means of cutting up the body of Dylan, would Brenner have done it? There's quite a high chance that he wouldn't, because he seems very lazy and incompetent. If Brenner couldn't burn his own shirt, do you honestly think Brenner would go to such lengths to cut up Dylan? I don't think so, unless he had help. Someone else who was a bit more competent and took more care of doing the cleanup job. Just wanted to add that point in. Let me know your thoughts to that. How do you respond about that. Anyway, let's move on. We've covered this area enough, and that too. Now we're just looking inside. On the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, there wasn't really much going on. You had the fencing, some bags, some chairs, like a hose reel, washing machine. Not really much there. And as for that washing machine, clearly not used. Brenna's shirt remaining in the trailer, so no attempt there to clean up or burn or dispose of it, like with that barrel either. So is there anything ultimately standing out here besides that hole, right? I'll be honest. In the early days when I saw that hole, heard about it, I was thinking, oh shit, has that got anything to do with maybe some... Oh, there's a pigeon right in front of me. Hold on. Pigeon, what are you doing there? He's literally just landed on that tree. What are you doing, pigeon? You trying to interrupt me? Got a few fleas on you? So, pigeon, have you come across any rats recently? No? Oh, lucky you. So, you know, what are you going to do? You getting ready to fly? No? Sorry about this interruption in the video. It just caught my attention. I was literally talking then, and then right in front of me, the pigeon flew and decided to park up. I mean, he's getting ready to go. Oh my God, there's another pigeon. Wait, is this going to lead to one pigeon jumping on top of the other? I can't really show you in view at the moment. I mean, he's getting ready to pounce. Hold on. Maybe not. Sorry about this, like, weird cut into the video. Apologies. I'm just interested to see what happens, if anything does happen. Oh. Oh. There's the other one. Didn't quite work out, did it? He's just thinking, what the hell's going on right now? Oh, the other one gave up. Oh well. Let's return back. What I was trying to say before I was interrupted by that bird outside was, when I saw the hole initially, I thought, did it had anything to do with Dylan, such as a bit of evidence, like an actual physical item, though with time, it turned out to be more like biological matter, right? But that aside, the items spread about here, not much of interest, right? But it's when you look a little bit closer and a bit deeper. So this is right at the back of the grain shed within, the left-hand side in the corner. You can quite clearly see there is a spade like wedged in the ground. Now, where did that spade come from, and was it used at all? I'm not quite sure. Let me know your thoughts, of course. Like, a spade like this, obviously used for digging, making holes in the ground, of course, but, you know, would Brenner like really go to that, like that length of manually digging a hole? Probably not, because he's lazy. But if you're temporarily burying something, or just burying a small item somewhere, such as the wallet, which is still missing, or maybe a firearm which is still missing, then you might use a smaller item just because it's a bit more mobile and the item you're disposing of is small, so it doesn't require heavy machinery, you know, that type of thing. Now, we've experienced a few patterns when it comes to spades in the ground, such as back at Brenner's burnt down trailer in Montello, Nevada, right? There was talks there was conspiracies spread about Lance supposedly putting the spades there himself and then setting it all up. And then other people were suggesting that those spades there that might have been used when it came to disposing of Dylan. There's all different possibilities, right? But at least from the police's investigation of the area, they cleared it up and said nothing was found back there at the burnt down trailer. Though, you look here within the grain shed property, where Brenner was, where Dylan was, his final moments most likely. Could that spade have been used in any way possible? Let me know what you think. Used to desecrate, dig a hole, bury Dylan, or bury an item. I mean, the item itself could have been used, of course, to injure Dylan. You think of a spade head, you whack that on someone's head, it can knock someone out. And spades as well, the tip of them can be a bit pointy and sharp. And if you jolt that into a person, it could decapitate, areas of the body, possibly. If you're desperate for items and tools on the spot, you might use it as a last resort. You just keep jabbing it into the person to try and cut them up, right? Unless there's other items. Oh, I think we're zooming a bit too much there. What's the next one? This is the final image of interest, which is maybe more practical in a sense, and that is the chainsaw. Now, has anyone else seen the chainsaw before? This is right at the back of the grain shed within, but on the right-hand side in the corner, where you've got that works table, which has like a vice or a clamp on top of the table. There's all kinds of junk on the floor, in the corner. As for other stuff, I don't know what they are. Belt buckles, some kind of metal, trash. Appears to be some, handles there of some sort. But then you've clearly got a chainsaw right there in full view. You got the handle of it and I believe the motor. Though the one thing that is missing is like the blade, the metal thing, and the chain which goes around it. Where is that? Why is it not present? Has it been pulled out? Hidden? I don't know. Like, aside from the horror films like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ed Gein, Leatherface, obviously chainsaws can be used to cut up objects, items, wood, but I guess people as well. You got all kinds of gory, dark videos out there, right? Like with the Mexican cartels, with stuff they've used on people, such as chainsaws. So, same situation with Dylan, maybe. Once he's been taken out, cut him up that way. Maybe it's effective. Now, obviously we can't, because no one seems to have answered. If people were present in the area, such as like Don Haley, besides hearing a potential gunshot, did anyone hear the usage of a chainsaw? The revving of a chainsaw, the vroom vroom? Because if so, then that could possibly suggest that, prove that. Maybe wondering, well, why has the chainsaw been left behind, right? If it was of interest, it would have had blood on, right? It would have been taken away. Yeah, I understand. Unless another chainsaw was used. The fact that there's a chainsaw on site, right? Or part of one, which you may think that it could have been as a whole beforehand. Right, this is definitely the type of item that could be used and is practical to be used. I mean, Candice Cooley did deny the idea of Dylan being chopped up because there was supposedly no items at all in the area that could have been used. And yet, we got this chainsaw. But why would the blade be missing the chain? Well, maybe because that does have quite a bit of the evidence on. Maybe it was somewhat deconstructed and buried somewhere, hidden. Because, you think about it, the firearm, which we're assuming was the item used to murder Dylan, that firearm hasn't been found, has it? May have been buried somewhere, dumped somewhere. So if there is an item, an object used to break up Dylan's remains, that could be missing as well, such as this blade chain of the chainsaw. Though wouldn't you have got blood splatters on the side of the handle and motor? Maybe, yeah, maybe. See, I'm just pointing these like little things out so you can give your own ideas down below. Do you think this chainsaw was used in the desecration of Dylan, or something similar? Or not at all? Dylan was just simply buried, and that was it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section and the chat right now. So aside from the items, equipment and vehicles, transportation, which played a role in possible desecration of Dylan rounds, obviously the location as well is one of the main points as well. Which environment, what area, what type of terrain held Dylan buried within, concealed, form of desecration as well, disturbance to a particular environment, piece of land, parcel of land, let's say. The reason why I didn't get too deep in that is because there's so many different areas you could point out, right? And like with the wash or another wash and another wash, or the odd mine shaft maybe, or cave, or just simple ground spread out wherever, right? There's a lot to cover there, and it would probably be impractical to be talking about here. But we can take a look at other areas down the line, of course, and there will be some more Dylan round videos to come, of course. But, you know, as I said in this video, we need to return back to the Salty Pancakes situation right now. So, might be a couple of days late now. I was going to cover it yesterday, in which it happened the day before, but I couldn't yesterday because I didn't have any time. But basically, Salty Pancakes did set up another account called Salty Pancakes, but I think this time it was without any spaces on YouTube. That's his username, and I actually provided a link down below on my previous video. If you actually want to follow that link to Pancakes channel, you can, but what you'll be greeted with, depending what device you're on, if you're on mobile, you'll be taken to a blank page with a monkey holding a wrench saying, oops, looks like this page doesn't exist anymore or has been removed. If you're on desktop on PC and you click the link, it will take you to the page with a black screen, or possibly, if it's not the link to the video but link to the channel page, it will take you to the channel page, but it'll be a blank screen with I think a blue bar or a bright red bar going across saying this account has been terminated. Basically similar to the first account, how that went about, okay? So in the space of a few days, both taken down. Now, surely different email accounts would have been used in place. It's only because I'm sure if you get banned, whether it be temporarily or permanently, you can't sign into another account with the same email address or something. Because, you know, people will have alternative accounts, backup channels, but if you are punished on one, you're locked out of the other as well. So maybe different email accounts were used to bypass it. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But just a sudden shutdown of both accounts, bang, bang, bang. Like, the main account, to an extent, I can understand possible reasons put forwards, as in reports filed to YouTube, maybe because of certain videos, certain content, talking points. But as for Pancakes' new channel that was set up, which really only had 1 or 2 videos on the channel to be taken down as well, I'm just surprised. Just surprised that YouTube acted upon it so quickly, right? Because there's many instances, many cases, right, online on YouTube where you'll get a female Twitch or YouTube streamer that will kick a cat or throw a dog about the room and they'll get off. They won't get punished, they won't get banned, they're let off. But a guy that may say one word maybe not the appropriate wording, but just one word gets absolutely punished. YouTube arguably at times pick and choose, okay? There's some moments where it's very valid that something is wrong or a channel has done something bad or gone against TOS, and yet they don't get punished whatsoever. So in the Pancakes situation, for at least that second account to be, action taken immediately, I'm kind of surprised, considering it was a new setup one with not much going on there as for content. But, it is what it is. It's happened. So I don't know if Pancakes will try again with a different YouTube account, or if this is the point where he turns away and moves on to a different platform. You never know. Oh, I think the kitty cat has gone into the greenhouse. Does that mean we need another interview? Maybe, but I don't know about this video. I think it's best just to keep the focus to Dylan Rounds, of course, primarily, and the current situation with Pancakes. But a potential interview could be taking place very soon in a coming video. I know some people said they wanted a part 2, a follow-up. Make sure to be on the lookout for it. There could be another interview, okay? I just hope it stays in place and doesn't run away, because if it does, we're gonna have trouble, aren't we? But anyway, back to Pancakes. So I think the next thing to do is just simply to present to you Pancakes' recent reaction to obviously his second account being taken down, and see what are the danger levels like, or what are the tension levels like. Because as to you, the viewer, whether you watch my videos consistently, or if you're a third-party export viewer that has just come in temporarily to view this video, whatever, and to the people watching in the background, lurking in the darkness, welcome. The aim of this coverage is to provide an explanation as to what's going on, but also to let you know of what to expect, right? Because if you're somehow caught up in the mess, whether you support a certain side or not, or you're caught right in the middle, if you're at least aware of what's going on, the motives, the reasons, the explanations, and the potential of what could happen next, good or bad, then you know how to deal with it in advance. So you can reduce the tension, the heat level, and reduce the chances of you yourself getting hurt in the process, right? Because you never know. If a person hasn't got much to lose, they may become very dangerous and also more reckless, and they may drag other people down with them. Will it happen here? Maybe. Who exactly? I don't know, but I'm sure you can think of it yourself. Let's head on over to the Facebook page of Pancakes and see his responses. So here we are with Salty3Pancak3s Facebook page. We're continuing on from where we last left off. We just scroll up here. From 1 day ago, Pancakes said, "You wanted Jim Terry gone. Watch closely. Hashtag the power of 3. Now this is the thing, and it's just as a simple observation in place. Considering Jim Terry has a range of enemies, and some of those people may have said the same thing as Pancakes. You wanted Jim Terry gone, it will happen, or something will happen. And yet, nothing has ever really happened. You know what I'm saying? And then just recent, whether it be them directly or a viewer, associate, or whoever, responds back, and then Salty's channel is gone just like that. So, I don't know, the power dynamics aren't even. People saying that they'll do this and do that, and then it doesn't happen. Interesting. Anyway, just let me know your thoughts. And of course, when you get these comments, right, it all comes down to language and wording. This could be interpreted as a threat. So like when it comes to going about making videos on YouTube or posting a message and you're talking about a certain topic, subject, or person, you've just got to be careful with how you word things or how you state stuff. Because if you do it recklessly, other people can maybe twist it in a darker way and then report it. And then you end up getting into more trouble and more trouble and more. So you got to word things appropriately at times, and I think Pancakes may not always do that. So that's why at times he can end up being worse off, just because of how he responded and how it was interpreted. Let's move on. We saw that one up there. Pancakes, what's this? To help support this channel and the mission to take Jim Terry down, please consider donating to Salty's Cash App. Link is below. Well, we'll leave that one out in this video. What's this one? Salty takes down Jim Terry. Are you mad, bro? Salty always wins. I don't know, it just sounds... I don't know. The reason why I'm not clicking on the comments is because when I do, it ends up redirecting me elsewhere for some reason. Yeah. What's this one? One day ago, Salty3Pancak3s says, there is no holding back now. I will expose everyone. So who is Pancakes going to expose? Expose all of his viewers? Expose all of Jim Terry's viewers? See, if that's the case, where if some people associate with a channel, they may end up getting attacked because of it. And that's what leads to things getting very messy at times. I mean, if I click on the comments here, what's it going to do? Oh, so it didn't kick me off. Okay. Volunteers popping up. Not really much going on here, just people in agreement. Tyler saying, cut the heads off Salt. Oh, well, I guess, is that comment in support of him or the opposite? I don't know. Just let this load back up. Apologies about this. This is what happens when it ends up flicking back. Right, so Pancakes is supposedly going to expose everyone. I don't know in what way, but there's that. What do we have here? Pancakes 22 hours ago. They wanted war. War is what they get. No rules here. You are getting that. Miss T, the moment we find you. So this is very direct, okay? Once again, maybe not the best wording or language, because it might make you look worse than you are. I don't know, you know? But, yeah, and he says, why doesn't your job answer the phone? So basically, Salty3Pancak3s looks like he is going after Miss T. Miss T, I believe their YouTube channel's called Guidance. I might be wrong, but I have heard of that pop up. So this is what I mean, you're getting these waves of concentration upon certain individuals. Will it end well? Probably not. Will it get messy? Likely. Who for? I don't know. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think this wording is appropriate, is good, or will it just lead to more punishments and maybe the Facebook account being taken away? I don't know, because, you know, if people report a comment like this as harassing or something else, then it could impact Pancakes further. And is that what you want to do? You know, is it not wise to do a bit of damage limitation, or is it past that point? Like, who was it? Shack Lady, how she was saying, try and move away from it and focus on other stuff. I feel that's probably true to an extent, but if it's gone on so long or gone so deep, maybe you can't get out of it until someone, what's the best wording for this, ends up losing. Let's move on. 10 hours ago, plans to go live. There's no flesh or blood within this cloak to kill. There's only an idea. Ideas are bulletproof. Okay. I mean, ideas, you say ideas are bulletproof, but wherever there is truth and facts that can penetrate through those ideas and set the record straight. That's how the sentence should go. Just like within the Dylan Rounds case, you might have a theory, an idea, a concept, but it doesn't mean to say that's the truth. It doesn't mean to say that's long lasting and it will remain like that forever. If new evidence comes on in, physical, hard evidence, it might counteract those ideas. It penetrates through. Those ideas are dispersed, debunked, put down, and the new wave comes in. So, yeah, ideas are not bulletproof. But I guess it's like maybe Pancakes trying to do some kind of meaningful poetry, right? But I don't know if it worked or not. Oh, why is it with these animals outside? These birds keep crashing about, and squirrels. Must be the spies, man.
My God, spies. You know, these birds, these pigeons are just trying to infiltrate me. I just cannot stand this. Is this some kind of conspiracy? Like, has to be some kind of conspiracy. I cannot just take this no more. All the breadcrumbs being scattered about. Yeah, the birds are eating the breadcrumbs, but maybe the breadcrumbs is some kind of multi-cosmic symbolism of a deeper meaning behind it all. Maybe it's locked behind a paywall. God, if it's locked behind a paywall, how can I access it? Well, don't worry, you just direct all your Trump funds to my Cash App.
Anyway, it helps with breathing that, okay? If you ever wonder, if you can't breathe through your nose clearly, just pinch it and do a bit of an American accent and it'll fix it. Is that it? Yeah, so that's it. That's the latest with Pancakes. He's described his page as a podcast and he has a link to his shop called the Salt Shack. You know, the Salt Shack. Does the Shack lady know about this? Ooh, I'm only joking. So yeah, that concludes that for now. So who knows what will happen next, but at least for this channel, we still maintain mostly focus on the Dylan Rounds case, of course, like how we did today. If you did join late and only heard a bit about Pancakes and you want to hear more about the Dylan Rounds case and the talk about that, make sure to rewind back to the beginning of this video and you can look more into that. Of course, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section to what you think about possible items used and the general term desecration. How do you think it applies in this case? Leave a comment down below. Also, one thing, what we need to acknowledge is, whilst this has happened to Pancakes, what about no thanks? Because as you know, alliances, allegiances have been formed with time. Some have broken down, others have reformed, re-emerged, etc. What do the other people do? Will they stand in and support Pancakes, or do they suddenly keep quiet and mind their own business, right? This is where you could see the levels of backstabbing, but also you could see the levels and variations of, at one point, associating, but not complying, not internalizing, just being there at that moment, maybe supposedly shown support in of someone or some people, but then when the times get rough, when bad things happen, they're suddenly like, oh, no, I can't be a part of this, I don't want to get dragged down, or, oh, it's already happened to me, I don't want any more to happen. Does make you think, right? Right. You can leave your thoughts down below to what you think will happen next. If you wanted predictions from me, all I would say is, with certain individuals outside of the case, right, and grudges long-standing, I feel it will get messy. I think it will get messy for some people. Will others get dragged into it? I don't know. As for viewers, people that don't always watch my videos, and for those that have just suddenly come on in, just be aware that externally, you know, things could get messy with those channels you might go to or whatever. So yeah, I think that's about it, to be honest. No point really talking anymore. And next video that will follow will be a dedicated Dylan Rounds video, just simply on that, unless something else, like breaking news happens, right? Because like, this is the thing as well. Of course, it's important to spread awareness on the Dylan Rounds case, okay? Things that might intertwine with it, sometimes worth covering as well, right? And even when people just want answers, if they can be answered, that's what will happen, and that's what we've been doing recently. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, you found some stuff of interest. If you have additional thoughts and questions, list it down below in the comment section, and the link to the previous video is available as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. For now, goodbye and good night.